Good afternoon and welcome to Booth Library in our continuation of the series on ancient Egypt. We're coming to the conclusion of our series. We hope you'll join us tomorrow for we have one activity tomorrow afternoon at 1. And then on Wednesday there are 2 opportunities, including a presentation of many students dancing and doing sports exercises in the style of those from ancient Egypt. So we hope you'll consult your program in the back of the room and join us then. Without further ado, Dr. Wafiq Wabi is chairing this session, so here we go.
Thank you. Welcome to this session on 4 p.m. on a Monday. You could do anything else other than coming to a geography or the politically correct name natural forces. Now, geography classes are not the favorite for all students, and geography professors and teachers are not the best in the world for everybody. But here we have exceptions. We have the chair of the department and we have the former chair, and because it is so difficult for me to introduce my friend Alan Baharlou, because of the variety and multifaceted talents that he has. So I asked the chair of the department to be kind enough to do this task for us.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wabi. I actually also have the privilege of introducing my father-in-law, Dr. Alan Baharlou. So it's an auspicious occasion in that regard. Dr. Baharlou has had a very interesting history, and one of the things I hope that will really kind of be evidenced to you all is he is originally from the country of Iran, from Tehran. As a matter of fact, he graduated back in 1964 with a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Tehran in geology. He then graduated with a Master of Science in Geophysics from the University of Oklahoma. So from Tehran, he went to Oklahoma. You can imagine what kind of a trip that was for him. But he ended up at Oklahoma and then earned a PhD in geochemistry from the University of Tulsa in 1974. He was chair of the geology department at the former Phillips University. This was in Enid, Oklahoma, and then arrived here at Eastern back in 1980. So he's been here for over 30 years. He and his wife, Carlene, by the way. Carlene's in attendance as well. After he arrived at Eastern, he served as the chair of the department for 22 of the 25 years that he was here. He's been quite active on campus. You've probably seen him around doing various things and has been recognized for several awards. In fact, he was named back in 1999 the second faculty laureate. He was the second person to be recognized in that prestigious award. And he also won in 1999 the Lawrence Ringenberg Award. This is the highest award from the College of Sciences. It recognizes an individual who has performed exceptionally during their academic career at EIU. Well, he did retire back in 2005, but that hasn't stopped him. He's been teaching an awful lot of off-campus courses for us. You've probably seen him on the golf carts during a move-in day and things of that nature, so he does those things as well. And he also serves as a facilitator for the EIU Reads program. So as you can see, Dr. Baharlou has stayed very, very active since 2005. So if you would, please join me in welcoming Dr. Baharlou. His talk is entitled, "The Natural Forces Affected How Natural Forces Affected Egyptian Civilization." Excuse me. Welcome, Dr. Baharlou.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, I just was fortunate. Here is my son-in-law, as distinguishes. And thank you very much, Wafiq. You really impressive work you've done to introduce one of the 5 civilizations that started the human activities on the planet Earth. It's hopefully the other civilizations, somebody put a step in and introduce them, because it's significant. We all or O, or advancement to those who took the first step on the step ladder to civilization. Thank you very much. So,
You can take this microphone and have another one.
oh, I have another one, yes.
This one.
Egypt is located in a very unique place on the planet Earth. It's one of the most significant geologically, geographically, civilization history compartment of a spaceship Earth. From the space, everybody could, here it is. Since the Earth unique in the solar system, the only planet that sustains life, as we know, out of all the planets, and we have gone out of solar system. Our solar system, we haven't seen any sign, is this condition is not. So we are unique in the solar system, and the compartment of that spaceship Earth that I will discuss about is also unique. Took the first steps toward an advancement. And if you look at here is Egypt, compared with the rest of the world. Our civilization, our anthropological, archaeological, all investigation, we started it from here, so-called this first species Adam, and migrated, as you see the date shows you, and they came slowly spreading in Middle East and branching out, part of it Europe, and later on all the way to North America and Australia. So our species started there in this area. I'm going to, so that area of the world is the cradle of the 5 civilizations that started the journey. Greeks, Romans, Persians, Egyptians, and Mesopotamia. Hopefully someone as dedicated, as vigilant, as assertive as Wafik will someday introduce these other, our ancestors, our beginning, our backbone. These were our grandparents that really make the significant contribution to where we are now. So it's good to recognize their contribution. There are 118 pyramids that were built. It's one of the civilization, Egyptian, and Greeks built also significant monument that is credit and also shows the ingenuity of this civilization. And Persian, Persepolis, the same creativity appears in all construction of all this building. At that time, with one of the tools that we have, not only was the tool, but also they needed the imagination, the idea, the creativity, what they wanted to represent, how want to send a message. That was more than just building a building, a monument. It was a message to the future generation. They always thought about it. If you ever see any of these monuments, when I saw the first Persepolis, tears in my eyes. How did they do that? How did they build these columns? 5,000 years ago. Carried it, put it on top. Some of us look at it And without knowing, we to put at the back of our mind is considered the present tools. But they didn't have any of these things. They didn't have a crane. No one up lift up anything. So this is impressive, those civilization, to see. Well, I had to eject this. Some of them in that area decided to build a great tower out of mud brick. This is just the story. And then they say God looked at it and got mad. If they could build building like that, nothing could stop them. This is Tower of the Babel. And that's what somebody asked question once. If we were from Adam and Eve, why are we just speaking different things? What did that happen? And somebody had to explain. And said, well, they built a tower, God got mad, said, let's confuse them, Babel. But that's also, I want to say, that part of the words. So not only they build, they also build stories and messages and writing. The roots of Judaism also goes back, as far back. It started there, in that part of the world, among those civilizations. Torah, New Testament, Quran. So they wrote, if any of you believe any of these things, you're influenced by those people. They believe that they have influenced psychologically, religiously, philosophy, building, structure, everything, the rest of the world forever. These civilizations try to do that. Jerusalem, which is located there, again, built by this civilization. Mosque of Omar, Western Wall. So, here it is, the panoramic. Judaism, Christianity, Islam started there. These are the people who wrote all their messages. They wrote Old Testament, New Testament, Quran, and told us how everything's happened, explain everything. And so, these are the people who wrote it. These are the people who explain it. These are the people who answered the questions they had that time. This civilization, just want to tell you, it's not only the building, the monument, they fundamentally have brought so many factors to our life today. As you sit in here, as I said, if you have any of these faiths, you are greatly influenced by the philosophy, the approach of those people. In the map of the world, this is the climatic map and natural vegetation of the world. Egypt, located here, this is called base of the world climate, desert. This is the most significant, largest desert in the world, Sahara Desert. This is Arabian Desert. This is Gobi Desert, the South Kalahari, Australian Desert. So desert is located. Very minor, just barely any precipitation, and always high temperature. As you see, it's located near the equator. This is 0. Dry, hot, no what? Wow. How did they, let's see, how did they do all this in such an environment? Larger map, Egypt located here. Again, dry. This is equatorial area. Nearly 200 inches of rainfall falls here. Largest river in the world, Amazon, Congo, drains here. Largest forest in the world, tropical rainforest. Immediately next to it, this is the Sahara Desert, Arabian Desert. This is the characteristic of a spaceship Earth. And everything else have changed and evolved to adjust to this diversity. This is great, the diversity. It is not monotonous. A little bit down here, you could farther out 2 miles thick ice and Arctic glacier. So it's a very diverse system. Now we're going to focus in this compartment and the people who lived here on a spaceship Earth. In that area, Annual rainfall in Aswan, one of the cities, 0.5 millimeter. Alexandria, large cities, 7.9 inches. Cairo, 0.4. That low? Yes. Wow. But do they have enough water to drink? The question comes, what did happen? How Nile, the destiny of the Egyptian. A river came. The only place in the world that is a river in a desert. Where did it come from? How did it get there? River in a desert? Yes. And you see it from the air, coming from has a long journey. It's called Nile. That is Delta. And Nile has two branches discussed, one called Blue Nile, one called White Nile. So this was that river who established the life-giving power of that river brought the whole civilization. And how? The Nile is a major north-flowing river in North Africa, generally regarded as the largest, longest river in the world. The longest river in the world. Later on you see its journey. It turns through the 10 countries of Sudan, South Sudan, Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, you could read, and Egypt. The Nile has two major tributaries, branches, the White Nile and the Blue Nile. Now we have water in that desert. So nature established the first powerful asset of that landform, water in the desert, nature. The blue and the white. The White Nile rises in the Great Lakes region of Central Africa, with the most distant source still undetermined but located in Rwanda, Burundi, in Central Africa, and joins the Blue Nile in Sudan's capital of Khartoum. The northern section of the river flows almost entirely through desert from Sudan to Egypt. So a river came, the first step of a natural force affecting. The two rivers meet at Sudan capital. The north section of the river flows almost entirely through desert from Sudan to Egypt, a country whose civilization has depended on the river since the ancient times. Most of the population and cities of Egypt lie along those parts of the Nile Valley north of Aswan. And nearly all the cultural and historical side of ancient Egypt are found along the river bank. So the river brought the focus of that civilization. And see later how this is just the beginning, the ever-widening effect of it. Most of the population cities of Egypt along the Nile ends in large delta that empties into Mediterranean Sea. The Nile is famous as the longest river in the world. The river got its name from Greek word means Nalos, which means valley. The Nile floods the lands in Egypt. That's good. It floods. Later on you see the floodplain soil on its side, on its floodplain. The river got its name from living behind black sediments. It's kind of fertile. That's why the ancient Egyptian named it the river R, meaning, probably Wafik knows what it meaning black. Here it is. This is the river, the white part, and then the black, the blue one, start from here, you will see it later on. And so it comes a long way, the White Nile. And then here, in Khartoum, join the Blue Nile, which start here, and they continue their journey all the way to Egypt, to Mediterranean. See, there is just a unique situation. Now, the Nile has two major tributaries. The latter is the source of the most water and fertile soil, the Blue Nile. The former is the longer, the White Nile, which has come all the way from here. But the Blue Nile, which starts from here, is explained why suddenly we had water here in this condition, and goes around some most beautiful landscape, waterfalls here, and join Blue Nile and come all the way up here. Okay. The Blue Nile starts at this lake. Where does the rain come from? Where does the water come from? Why is not any place here? You will see the second most powerful natural forces that create the source of the water. This is that lake. This is Blue Nile. This is a landform here, 4,000 or 5,000 feet above sea level. This here in Sudan. And this is the lake that Blue Nile goes around, come join there. Okay, so there is a high place located here. Another natural features, valleys versus mountain. What is the effect of the mountain in that area? What does a mountain do? Why should the river that tumbles out of the Ethiopian highlands and joins the White Nile at Khartoum be called the Blue Nile? It is not particularly blue. Perhaps it should be called the summer river. Oh, it flows mostly in the summertime. Oh, that's good, when we really need water. And because the most of the year it provides little water compared to the White Nile, but in the summer it is very much the dominant tributary. In the summer, winds from southeast bring moist air. Let me go back here. This is Ethiopia. This is Pacific Ocean. It's here. The wind,
I think this is India.
Indian Ocean, excuse me. The wind from here, from the ocean, comes to the land. And this is Tibetan, but here is the area that the Blue Nile. So the wind comes with vapor in it from the water surface. Then hits the land, it has to go up. When air goes up, cools. If you go top of the mountain, it's cooler. So air goes up, cools. Vapor in it condenses. Like vapor hits your windshield of your car in winter, condenses to droplets of water, and rain falls. So this landform here, African Rift, which create this air to go up and releases precipitation like it does it in lower. So it is kind of a monsoon like India that get a lot of rainfall in summer. The same thing, water comes from the ocean, air comes from the ocean with vapors, goes up, cools, condenses, releases precipitation in the summertime. So Blue Nile gets this because its source runs in the summer. The river itself swells so with water that at the confluence with the White Nile, when they come together, it is so much water in Blue Nile that as it just rushes through, hold the White Nile back, and sometimes will not back up against that water coming in. And with it brings a fresh varnish of fertile black mud to its floodplain, which erodes from this area. Fine mud. Now you have parallel situation in the United States, Mississippi River, when it's flooding because the fertile soil is floodplain. It's the most fertile area. Now, of course, by climate change, now things changing, but it is, that's reason that floodplain brings fresh soil each year near the water. The same thing is taking place here. So bring the soil exactly where we need it. Fertile soil on the bank of the Nile in Egypt. I went over that. So start from here, Lake Tana, Blue Nile, join here to the White Nile from the south, and now they flow north all in Egypt. So we got the water. We got the water when we need it in the summer because of monsoon characteristic of it. Water brings mud, what we needed to have soil on the bank of Nile. You will see the bank of Nile without that soil is pure sand. Nothing can grow. But this layer of black soil, fertile soil each year covers that and provide. Wow, all this thing has to come together. So the Nile flows and has been flowing for long, long time, geologically speaking, and has cut down its canyon a little bit. This is the Nile coming in and finally comes here to this place. And you see from the satellite, that's the only place you see green, a few branches of it, but mainly this is the lifeblood of, that's the destiny of that part, that's the instance, that civilization. Of course, this is the, all you familiar, Egypt, Sinai Peninsula, you all have it. This is Great Sea, Mediterranean. And there is a great mountain located here to later on explain the significance of that, Mount Sinai, which has a lot of historic thing, also religion. I directed archaeological side as a 3 groups in Israel. We took a trip to go to Sinai, going across Sinai Peninsula. Inside the bus, temperature was 114 when we were traveling, but we had a system to do like that. And this is it. Suddenly out of this area next door to Egypt is the Sinai Mountain. It's a very popular place, one of the landform it has on the eastern part of it. A lot of people go, and this is where Moses supposedly went up and come back and got the 10 tablets and the 10 commandments. Actually, we took students up there and pulled the trick on them, told them that as these are granite, igneous rock, and they, when break, they give this straight faces. Every time there's a kind of a straight face, he said this is where Moses got one of his tablets and wrote the message. Near the end, I mean, they knew we were kidding them, but some of them just kind of surprised. But this is a really interesting place. A huge granite mountain in the south part of Sinai. So that contributes to the history of it too. Later on, you see the presence of this mountain, presence of this kind of rocks. And if you look, all the major cities, activities of Egypt is along the Nile. This is called Eastern Desert South. And of course, where the water comes and finally branches itself to many tributaries, deposited sediments, a very fertile land near the ocean, and cradle of Egyptian civilization. This is the Nile Delta, false color image of the Nile. Red means water. This is where Nile comes and spread its water many tributaries. So large area suddenly get these waters when they need it in the summertime, when they need to grow food and have their, and it says blue means buildings, some of these areas, and white is the desert. Unique geologically, geographic setting. As I said, Nile branches itself a lot. So when it comes here, distribute its water. And since branch itself out, its force decrease in each of tributaries, and consequently deposit its sediments, cannot carry it anymore, doesn't have the velocity, and cover this area, large area like Mississippi Delta, with a lot of sediments. And from the night, from the satellite space, you always see, this is the only place to see the sign of activities, the sign of the light around the Nile. No other place in desert is life possible to maintain. No water, no soil, nothing else. So now you see why was concentration there of that civilization. How do they survive? How to manage their resources? Where do they get their rocks and everything else? So a lot of tributaries, a lot of activities located here. Even today, the population of Egypt, now numbering more than 70 but 80 millions, is concentrated almost exclusively within the cultivated land area, while the desert regions, which account for 96% of the land surface, are practically empty. So the natural forces concentrate this civilization in this particular setting. In the Upper Egypt, on account of the morphology of the Nile Valley, the fertile cultivated area is restricted to a narrow strip only a few miles wide around the edge, because it's kind of a deep canyon. So when river has to go a lot up to overflow its bank to deposit its sediments. I've been going there. The sedimentary rocks, later on show you, is easier to erode by the river versus igneous rocks. The Upper Egypt, on account of the morphology of the Nile Valley, the fertile cultivar is a very small amount. So that is still narrows down this activity, human activities. A very narrow strip around the Nile, because that's where the fertile soil is. That's when the Nile can flood and deposit its dirt, which is stored each year, and so we could cultivate. With the Nile Delta opens out in the northward direction. The capital city, Cairo, lies at the here, this straight on you see it, in this part of the Nile, intersection between the Upper and Lower Egypt, which is crucial for the country's physical structure. As can be clearly seen from the map, population distribution in Egypt is characterized by extreme contrast in density. High density here, very low. Some 80% live in delta area. So that narrowed down, focused, restricted the activities of this civilization. The Nile Valley's canyon with floodplain running across. You see here, rest of it is formation, rocks, solid, or sand. So this is a very narrow lifeblood of this 80 million people concentrated there. This is extremely set by nature. Later on you see what would happen if some condition changes this natural setting. The map shows all the pyramids. These are all the pyramids. The pink one. All the temples. All. This is all oasis. As you see the word, just desert. They try to also emphasize by presence of a camel. This is the Nile, the lifeblood, the destiny, all the way to there. So let us see why all located there, all in one place, skimmed scattered. Why there's 11, sometimes 12 pyramids in one place. Because that's the only condition for living could sustain. This always tells you the Exodus. All you know a story. The Jewish migrated from here across the Sinai back to the Jerusalem. That line tried to show you that. Imagine those went across the Sinai Peninsula and they didn't have something to carry water, didn't have water. Assume if that really happened, a lot of them died. before got there, if that really happened. So that is remember, it's a long time ago. So somebody will write someday, archaeologically study that and so. Now, this is the Nile at Cairo. This is, you see, the life that river near provide for these activities. Everything was built there from here, a large city, like impressive, culturally, academically, socially. And these are some of the canyon that Nile made along the way, cutting down, persistently cutting down, and expose some of these rocks. We're all asked, sometimes we ask, where all did rocks come from that they made all these pyramids? And what did these rocks made of? You later on see the composition of these rocks also made it, facilitated to moving it, cutting it. And it's a sign of activity every place. And part of the Nile, did you ever knew that, has the most majestic waterfalls. Speaking of it. Larger, some of it, than our falls in this country. So it has a journey on all along, but it does, again, whirlpools of the Murchison Falls on the Nile River, northwest of Uganda. Canyons, it's called. It is the most impressive site to visit. Exciting, dynamic, smoking water, this people call it because of the foam looking that. It's false. The power of the Blue Nile may best be appreciated at this Isaac Falls, which are 45 meters, 148 feet, beating Niagara Falls, located about 40 kilometers, 20 miles downstream of Lake Tan. That river not only brought the life to the people, but designed and sculptured and erode the most beautiful sight to be inspired by. So these people not only had the Nile, but also the majestic sight that encouraged them. They become writers, composers, sculptures, because of the nature of setting, the sunset, the sound of the waterfalls, the beauty of it in different seasons of the year. Some of the description you heard about them explaining these. And because sometimes carries a lot of mud, it's a bit muddy. But going some of the more harder rocks, so this is the desert, white always, sometimes sand, but see here the sand. This is a narrow floodplain. Is always this is sand that blows from the desert, covers it there. So land, fertile land, is very limited, but fortunately it's replenished there. Geologically speaking, some of the rocks, now what else this nature provide for Egyptian? Did it give them any minerals, any metals, anything else, any oil, any coal? So said there, yes. And if you look at this is geologic cross section. If somebody cut it here, you will see most of the rocks are exposed near the surface, are soaked, layered rocks or sedimentary rocks, limestone, sandstone. A few places where Nile has cut through, you find some igneous rock, very hard rocks, like granite. And these are the canyon that the Nile has made and exposed these sedimentary rocks of mainly red, some pyramids are red. Actually call them red pyramids because made of some of this red sandstone, but mostly made of limestone rocks, which quarried out of and carried on the Nile. So also the rock, these are some slab of these rocks. These are sandstones. This is a granite. This is a metamorphic rock. These are a slab of these rocks when they're cut and polished. These are the limestone which is mostly used making the pyramids. Limestone easier. These are the granite, hard rocks, very difficult. They attempted to cut them to make, for example, a needle obelisk, but too tired to move and erect it up. Too tired to cut, too hard to cut without the tools they had. So, fortunately, there were abundance of limestone and sandstone nearby, the rock that can be shaped, can be cut, then can be moved. So there were many times we find many of these things that are left at the site. They were courageous, they were determined, they were assertive. This was rock hard, I'm going to find a way to cut it. So they made attempt to do that. Pyramid heights, wow. You just want to know, they have no crane, nothing. How did they move that high, stacking these rocks perfectly orderly to make a pyramid out of it? This is what our ancestors did. That should impress all of us. That time. That reason, this civilization gives a great deal of pride to see what the angle, 50, that's a high angle. Look at these rocks. And you see the picture here. Oh, can we, even present time tools we have, all shaped, cut to match each other, like a jigsaw puzzle, all the way to end up a pyramid in the same angle without a change. That's an impressive accomplishment. And of course they wrote. Some of them inscribed and some of bas relief on these rocks. Wrote the story of their challenges, their excitement, their accomplishment. They left all of us the messages on these and their tools. As you see it here. Various shape, mastaba, step pyramids, bend pyramids, red pyramid, which is made of rocks, and of course the famous Giza, one of the tallest ones, and one piece of rock, the largest one anybody ever sculptured. You see the picture, the Great Sphinx, with dimension of 65 feet high, 260 feet long, and 20 feet wide. Did you ever know that was the extent? This is a sandstone here. See it in front. So they moved these rocks. The Giza pyramid, and of course the Sphinx. That was not only outside. They made tunnels, grave, sites. How did they keep these rocks holding? These all pile of rocks. We have metal beam now. What did they use to hold this rock, to have that big inside cavity hole to remain? And some bridges built, very few. This is past, this breaking. This is recent on the Nile. But so, and then there was an earthquake that happens there. And one of these, as you see the head, broke and fell. But these are all limestone. The sedimentary rock can easily be, yeah. So they had continued natural features, they had it, but, and some they just the whole rock side of the mountain to shape it, to sculpture it. The sediments rock around the Nile Canyon, that Nile cut them, exposed them, were available to them, and took these rocks and built, and some of the nature, these are natural features. The sand with the wind become very erosive wind, erosive power, like Arch National Monument in the United States, they sculptured the wind and the sand. They sculptured many great features out of the rocks near the Nile. Again, another sand and wind and the rock that can be sculptured, and all that brought and even some of the fossils in these rocks. There was a great ocean millions of years ago to deposit there. And you see none of these quarries that they took all this limestone out of the side of the Nile and carry it on the Nile. This is schematic in the museum. They had these boats and carried it and on the river wall where there were no waterfalls, where there were no big rapids. If there were big rapids, they had to do it big piece on the land. And many tools that use that. So many of these features, as you see, mostly sedimentary rock, is all limestone that make the minaret next to the great pile of sands, as the river shows, two contrasting geologic. And many, many sculptured by the wind and the sand and all along the river. Now, what are other, had any other mining nature provided them? Gold mine, a lot here, was the first probably discovered, is one of the old mine opening. These are the gold mines. Fortunately, only they explored it around here, but also they were in the desert. They had iron mines, copper mines, and this is Cleopatra mine in Egypt, one of the mines, and it's sculptured on the rocks. How did they do it? And copper, when oxidizes, become blue, called malachite, or green, azurite. A clever lady discovered that. And there was some oil sip come naturally to the surface, discovered that. Wow, that's beautiful. And that was Cleopatra. All the Egyptian, those blue eyes, that's what that blue eye makeup came from. And those, if you get in copper, malachite, and some oil, mix it so it stick there and became there. And there are a lot of also oil is activities in Egypt, nature's, their natural setting. And Egypt's petroleum ministry has decided to start producing natural gas now. So they have oil. Long time ago, long time geologically, there was an ocean, living things died, buried, converted to oil, and as the same. Okay, now that's another important one. That dry climate protected these great monuments. Genius discovery. How? Imagine. All these 3,000, 4,000 years old, made of limestone, easily erodes by acid in the air. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and when oil becomes CO2 combined with water becomes carbonic acid. Coal has sulfur in it, oil becomes sulfuric acid. Two powerful acids come down with the rain. You heard acid rain. But this is Mike Layden. So why are these, even the writing, geographic writing, still intact? Some very delicate features. You all know that nose. Napoleon's troops practiced these for a target practice and blew their nose up. You all know, probably read it in history, the Sphinx. Well, this is what a humid climate does to limestone. These are 1/10 younger, some of them about only 800, 900 years old statues in Europe. But acid in the air, where humid, erodes away. Imagine, again, that dry climate now protected This great monument, very unique in the world. Some they're worried, now there's a lot of Egyptian using a lot of oil and gas, coal fuel, but there's not still a lot of moisture. So these are, he said, you know, I've been here only 200 years. Look at me. I'm just almost gone. By the way, look at your lungs. You have the same thing there. I'm made of rocks. But imagine you're not. So, and this Cleopatra needle, which was gifted to the United States, Egyptian government gave it, Egypt, as a token to commemorate the opening of Suez Canal. The obelisk has stood in Central Park since 1881. One other example, impact of climate. This stood in Egypt for 4,000 years. This has been here only over 100 years. Impact of the climate, again. Just imagine the differences in impact. If there was the climate is had, none of the monument that we see, pyramid, will exist. So again, the climate left these monuments, hieroglyphic writing, the story which intact. Go here. Now, that land, that civilization is facing a crisis, again, natural. Let's go here. Just since the delta no longer receive annual supply of nutrients, why not? All the area that Nile used to pick up this, now it's cities and highways and roads. So there is no soil, nothing left for the Nile to pick up and carry. Oh. Nutrient and sediments from upstream due to the construction of Aswan Dam and the soil and everything. Topsoil, there is no. So they are not, their soil is not being replenished anymore. People have lived in Nile Delta region for thousands of years, and it has been intensely farmed for at least 5,000 years. The Nile River used to flood on this annual basis, but this ended with the construction of Aswan Dam. Records from notice show that the delta has few distributors. About half of the Egypt's population living here. And so the source for agriculture now is being limited. And the global warming, which is making the sea level to go up, already has affected very good place. This Delta, it is flooding. Water is coming up. No soil, fresh soil to come to Delta because of all construction in Nile banks and area, and the water is coming up. The nature once more said, I told you, understand me. I'm a powerful force to give gift. But when you choke me with all your roads and highways, they said, did you talk where would the sediments come from? Okay. So they use papyrus tree branches, so on. Now it's, by the way, it's a great tourist attraction because of history, and probably some of us should go as soon as you can before that's because the civilization that depended on nature started, lived by natural resources, natural power. We all should get a great lesson of the Mother Earth. Gives gift and don't hurt it. So thank you. If you have any questions.
Any questions? River Nile, Egypt, monuments, geography. Any questions? Yes. Take this.
I think I can
Keep this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just had a question about some of the maps that you showed. You can see very clearly the green band of the Nile and going into the delta. Then there's another feature down south of the delta, west of the river. It looks like a little basin or something. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, this is a narrow, very narrow branches that flood sometimes. They pass in the past made it, but not anymore. So it is really green looking, but it is just because, as I said, it get about 1 inches of rainfall. So that is enough to get some short grass, like desert vegetation, like sagebrush, the things you find in the desert, that could take that much, a small amount of water and survive. It doesn't give any fruit or anything like that. This is called desert brush. Yeah, it's growing there. A little bit, that's what's good, you notice that.
I may add to this some facts in that area if I know what you're talking about. There is called Fayoum area and Lake Moise that have been there. So ancient Egypt has some tributaries so good observation. Any other comments?
Okay, you heard about Ethiopia, not West Africa, about 3 million died of lack of water, lack of farm. Mississippi River, Texas, many cattle died. So now this is not only an ancient civilization, but gives us a lesson, because this in people strongly depend on natural setting, natural condition, because very limited ones, so affected. Now, what would happen if our sea level goes up? All our cities built around coastlines. So is the story of Egypt. And if the climate changes, bring the drought, snow, 17 inches of snow in Northeast. Last year, Chicago. So again, this is a good condition. As I said, Egyptian history and lesson and message continues.
Okay, I have 3 quick questions. I don't mean to get into politics, but I see some Egyptians coming. Are you coming to see us or what? We can have you on the camera if you like, but is it a Halloween thing?
No, it's a Cleopatra.
So come here.
I know.
Come here and say hello.
Come here because we want to see you. Come here. Look at the blue eyes.
So, what's your name?
Haley.
Say it again.
Haley.
And would you face the camera, please? The camera is there. And shake hands with our speaker.
Thank you for coming. You
You're
brought us a
welcome.
lot of joy and excitement, and very nice of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give her a hand, please. Thank you for bringing her. It's very...
Hey, do you want to take a picture by this picture?
Yes.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, let's take her picture. Would you please?
Awesome. So big.
No, we'll take your picture here and one with the pyramid as well. How about that? So you just smile. Just smile and here we have you with the pyramid. And here the pyramid with the Sphinx.
Would you like to join her? Why not?
Is she your daughter?
It's your daughter?
Thank you. Give her a hand, please.
We already asked her.
Get your mother to come here. Say, Mom, come on.
Any other questions? Okay, I see we have only 1 minute to 5 and you have to go to somewhere else. I will encourage you to take a copy of the booklet. It's something that you can put in your shelves after the symposium is done. It's very well professionally done, thanks to Dr. Alan Lanham. And encourage you to come tomorrow for architecture, and the day after that for astronomy or astrology or whatever you call it, and stars. And then the final would be dancing and walking like Egyptians on Wednesday. So I encourage you to come and bring family. And please give a hand to our speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.